guys, Anthony here with Board Gamers Anonymous at the Table Special. Today we're going to talk about one of the hottest games out of Gen Con and one of the first games that I ran off to get Thursday morning, and that is Terraforming Mars. This is one of the new games that came out from Stronghold Games at the show this year. It is not yet available in North America. I believe it's shipping sometime in September, so you won't have to wait too long for this one. And let me just say up front, it is one you will be waiting for. It's pretty darn good. So what I want to talk about today is not just how good this game is, but specifically what makes it unique, what makes it interesting, how it plays. I've gotten a lot of questions about its weight, the style of play, the type of people who are going to enjoy it. It is actually fairly unique in a lot of ways, even despite looking at it at first glance, it doesn't quite look like what you think it would be. The thing that captured my attention up front was Mars as a theme. There's so many games coming out right now with this theme that I almost overlooked this one. I had backed one on Kickstarter not too long ago. Portal Games has one coming out soon. It's reskinning Robinson Crusoe. It's one of my favorite games. So this one was just like a third one on the pile, and boy am I glad that I didn't let that put me off from this game, because it is very good. It's very unique from what those two games look like as well. If you like Mars as a theme, this is a very good game. But very specifically, if you like science, Jacob Fryxelius, the designer of this game, he's a chemist, and it shows in the game because the science in this game is very solid, it's very interesting, it's meaty, there's a lot of flavor text. The whole idea of terraforming an entire planet and the amount of time that takes. The rounds in this game are generations, and there will be many generations before you complete terraforming to the point where people can actually live on this planet. So it's all very, very cool. Let's dive in. Let's take a look at what makes this game interesting. And then I'll let you know after that what I think. All right, guys. So here we have Terraforming Mars. This is the hotness of hotnesses out of Gen Con, and I'm about to show you why. Now, I'm not going to do a full walkthrough of the game. We're going to try to keep this to about 5 minutes and just kind of run you through what makes it unique and what we like about it. I'm going to do a full walkthrough of the game as well as a solo session, as separate videos that we'll have out hopefully in the next week or so. But for this, I want to kind of give you a rundown of what it does, why it's different, what we like, and some of the elements that maybe will impact your decision whether to play or buy this game. So here we have Mars, the red planet. Now, the way it's broken down is there are different hexes throughout the board. They are color-coded to determine which hexes can go where. So you see these blue means only oceans can go there. Everything else, we can place cities or greenery tiles. And there are also a couple of reserved places, such as Noctis City. Only Noctis City can go there, played by a card. Our goal is not necessarily to fill the planet. Our goal is to increase the temperature from -30 to +8 to make it nice and toasty warm for us humans. It is to increase the oxygen from 0% to 14%, which is the minimum needed to survive outside of a bubble. And then we want to get those 9 oceans down because we need some water, obviously. Now, the goal of this game, the key of the game, is how we're going to do all that. So that's the fun part. Now, the interesting thing about those goals is that they're global. You'll see there's multiple steps on everything. We have 14 steps on the oxygen, 19 steps on the temperature, and 9 steps on the oceans. Everybody contributes to those. And the way you're rewarded for that is that every time you do contribute, your terraforming rating goes up by 1. Terraforming rating is 2 things. 1, it impacts your income. So whatever that rating is, you're going to get that much mega credits at the end of each generation, but it's also your score. So you want to have as many terraforming rating as you can because that's your base score at the end of the game. So while it does cost a fair bit to put out oceans and greenery tiles and increase temperature, you are rewarded for it vastly, so it's worth doing. Now, how does all this work? What you see here is kind of what happens at the beginning of the game. So you have your player board. You're going to have income of 1 or 0, depending on if you're playing the standard or more advanced game. And that'll be on all 6 of the resources. So mega credits, steel, titanium, greenery, energy, and heat. These are your resources that you'll play throughout the game. The 2 cards you see here, these are your corporations. So you're going to get 2 at the beginning of the game to choose from. You pick one, and that'll be how you start. Those are the 2 options that you have. These are very asymmetrical, so we'll just look at Inventrix here. This is one of the base ones that comes in the standard game. And it tells you what you start with. So in this case, we're going to get to draw 3 extra cards as our first action, and we start with 45 money. And then the effect is, and each one of these has an effect throughout the game, is whenever there's a requirement for temperature, oxygen, or water, we can plus or minus 2 on that. And as you get to know the game, you'll know this is very powerful. They're all very powerful. So choosing the right corporation for your play style, for the types of cards that you have, they're all very important things. So the actual amount of money, the mega credits you start with is going to vary, and that's going to impact which cards you pull. Beginning of the game, going to give you 10 cards. You don't get to keep all 10 unless you pay for them, because to take a card into your hand costs 3 mega credits. That's a very interesting part of the game. It's not free. You don't just get the cards unless something else gives them to you. You have to pay for them. And that's in addition to the cost up here. So you're paying for each card twice. So if you have a card, you're like, I guess that'd be nice to have. Is it really worth spending the 3 mega credits on? Something important to keep in mind. So the types of cards. We have 3 different types of cards in the game. I'll walk you through kind of what they look like. We have effects. That's the red border here. Top left corner is your cost. That's what you're going to pay to play the card. In the middle here, the requirement. We'll find one with 1 here. We have whatever additional requirement there is to play that card. So this one says a maximum of -18. Some might have minimums. Other ones have tags you have to have. Pay attention to those, because paying for that card and putting it in your hand and not being able to play it is very frustrating. And then we have the tag. The tag is the indicator of what type of card this is, and those come into play in a lot of different ways. I'll go through them a lot more in the walkthrough, but for now, just know that these are very important. They will impact how you play the card. They also can impact how you pay for the card, which is very interesting. Now the red cards, the event cards, these happen immediately. So you do what it says, you flip the card over, it's done. You keep it because it might matter for scoring, but for all intents and purposes, you're done with this card. The green card also happens immediately. Nothing changes from the red, but you keep it face up in front of you. So we play this, you put it down here, you leave it there, because later in the game, these tags right here might come in handy. So you're going to leave that one out. The last type of card is the effect card. This is a blue effect card, and what that means is you leave it face up in front of you, and you'll be able to take these actions later. That red arrow means it's another action. So in this case, we'd be able to take an action to get a plant, or take 2 microbe tokens, which you can place on other cards. Again, I'll go through what these all mean later. As you can tell from the game and the size of that deck, there are a lot of cards. Talking a couple hundred here. Every game is going to be very different in how it plays out because of the sheer volume of cards. You have a lot of options at any point in time. You have 6 different resources on your mat. So the way that it's going to grow and change and the types of things you can do will be different on every single game. That makes it very interesting. What other people go for, too, might impact your strategy. You might be thinking, okay, I'm going to snag up all these free titaniums on the board. Somebody else does it before you, and you're like, well, maybe I'll go for steel instead, or maybe I'll just get the plants in the middle of the board. It's really going to impact how you play. It's going to impact the types of cards you purchase, the types of cards you pass. There's so much going on here, and that's honestly, I don't think I've played a game in a very long time that has this much variety and this many interesting decisions. So the bottom line, does Terraforming Mars live up to the hype? Unequivocally, yes. For me, this is my favorite game out of Gen Con, and that's going up against games like Cry Havoc, which I absolutely loved. Tons of other games out there. Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, brilliant game. Potion Explosion, surprise hit for me. Having a lot of fun with that one. Ice Cool. There's so many good games that came out of this convention. And honestly, I didn't really expect that based on the list that was coming out ahead of time. And Terraforming Mars, way up here. Why, though? What makes this game so unique, so interesting for me? It's got to be that deck of cards. You have hundreds of cards here, and different variants you can use that bring in even more cards. And every time I've played it, I've not only seen completely different cards, I've had to play a completely different strategy. And that's the hallmark of a good Euro, is that you always have to play a little bit differently. You have to adjust to what's in front of you. The corporation cards are going to kind of dictate the direction you go through their asymmetry. But at the same time, you can't ignore all the other elements. You want to get in on raising the temperature. You want to get in on impacting all the different elements on the planet that are going to eventually get you to terraforming, because if you don't, your terraforming rating is going to be a little bit too low. You're not going to get enough points. The last game I played, for instance, I had, I think, 5 tiles on this board and had placed no cities in the entire game. I think I put 1 down in the last round. And yet I won by 20 or 30 points. And the reason why is because I basically did 60% of the oxygen and temperature increases. So my terraforming rating at the end of the game was about 15 or 20 points higher than anybody else's. That lead got me the game. So that alone, that kind of spread in the way you can get points here, all these different elements you have to keep track of, this kind of overarching goal that everybody has to reach towards, but at the same time, you're playing against each other to be the one who does the best job of it. Not only does it feel like a game full of corporations, because isn't that the way society works, but it really feels like you're out there, you're on this foreign planet, you're trying to make it habitable for all these different types of people who are trying to come here. It's that kind of game. It's so much fun. I've played this by far more than any other game I brought home from Indianapolis, and I will continue to do so. I have not even talked about the solo game here yet. I will make a separate video for that. Loving that as well. The game just really, really works well with that solo component. This is a really good game. It's going to be at the top of my list for a while, and when I update that top 50 list at the end of the year, expect to see it on there for sure. So, what's the rating? This is a buy. If you are into medium to heavy Euros, if you are into the Red Planet, if you are into card-driven action selection, whatever, any of these things, if anything I've said today sounds even remotely interesting, play this game, probably buy this game. It's going to be out at the end of September. Keep an eye out for it. This is one of the good ones.